Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I am once again joined by the one, the only, the incredible and fascinating Rashad from Rashad G Reviews to discuss once again another Rocky film. We've already talked about Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, the original trilogy, but now we're taking a step further here to talk about the fourth film in the series, simply titled Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is essentially the same thing that we've seen time and time again. Rocky is at the top of his game. He's top dog when it comes down to the world of boxing. And, you know, as usual, there's somebody out there that wants to take on that mantle. This time we're talking about a newcomer from Russia. His name is Ivan Drago, played by the one and only Dolph Lundgren. But it isn't Rocky that wants to battle him. He doesn't really care. Who does care, though, is Apollo Creed, who wants to prove that he's still strong. He's still got it. He can still beat this guy. But he is wrong. In the ring, Ivan beats him to death, literally, which causes uproar in Rocky's life, and he decides it's personal this time. He's going to go out for revenge. Not for the title, not for anything else, but for revenge. First and foremost, gotta give Rashad a huge shout out and thanks for joining me this time to talk about Rocky 4. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll be hearing what he has to say about Rocky 4 in just a hot second! But first, let's talk about Rocky 4. So, when it comes down to this movie specifically, the main thing that you're going to remember is Ivan Drago, okay? Dolph Lundgren. Baby Dolph Lundgren. And I was reading up about how he was trained by Arnold Schwarzenegger to be in tip-top physical shape for this movie, which does make sense because he does kind of look like the Terminator, and even Rashad, you mentioned that as well. He's a machine in this, and he's tall and he's scary. He's stoic, and that's probably the best thing about the movie. That and the fact that there is a more of an emphasis on the montages, on the training routines, on the fight itself at the end. It's brutal, it's violent, it's gory. It's not gory, but it's basically everything that you want to see out of a Rocky film if you're only looking at the surface. A lot of people who watch Rocky films, they're just looking for that training montage. They're looking for the song that plays, and they're looking for the fight at the end. To a lot of people, that is what Rocky is. For that reason alone, I feel like a lot of people will watch this film and immediately consider it to be their favorite. Like Rashad, you mentioned this as well. A lot of people do consider it to be their favorite. I don't, though, and I will talk about why I don't after Rashad does his thing. But in general, it's not a bad movie. It's definitely not a bad Rocky film. But I would consider it to be more along the lines of middle of the road. We'll talk about my negatives here in a second, but Rashad, take it away.
Dave, what's the deal? Pickles, is everything kosher? So I'm back once again, this time to talk about Rocky 4. This time fighting Ivan Drago. This is during the Cold War. This is Sly Stallone's attempt to unite the United States of America and Russia, but not with guns and bombs, but with boxing, with cinema, and with a buttload of montages, okay? So Stallone is back once again. Rocky 3 was supposed to be the last of the franchise, but Stallone said, damn, that movie made too much money, and my ego is so inflated right now, I think I could do one more. And he does, and for some reason, this movie is one of the most beloved in the franchise. I say about 80% of people that say Rocky 4 is their favorite of the franchise. Now, mind you, I love all the Rocky films, even the ones that really didn't work, but to say that 4 is the best, I can't say 4 is the best. Now, 4 has probably the best training sequences, and it does have a very violent and long fight between Rocky and Ivan Drago. But if you're a film critic like Dave, like you are, I can see you totally picking this movie apart. But it is one of those fun times where you just have to suspend disbelief and just have a good time with it. Rocky 4 is a good time. No, it's not as powerful as the first movie. It's not as dramatic and emotional as the second movie. And to me, it's not as strong as the third movie. But I feel like it's a fun movie by itself where it belongs in the Rocky universe. And it's different because this is the MTV era. So yes, there's a lot of montages, a lot of 80s in here. This is like an 80s time capsule captured in 1 hour and 34 minutes. Okay. All right, Dave, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but yeah, Rocky in this movie seems very not Rocky in this film. All right. So the first two movies, he was kind of, on the slow side. Can't even say slow. That's probably politically incorrect. He's a little on the, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he's got a big heart. He's a brute. And then by three, like Mickey said, he becomes civilized. He's still Rocky, but now with a bigger vocabulary, bigger hair, and a face job. But you can tell it's still Rocky. In this movie, he doesn't seem like Rocky. He seems like Sly Stallone that you see in every other action movie, but he's just playing Rocky, and now he has to fight this big 6'4" mountain of a man, Ivan Drago, who, when I first saw this movie, I thought he was the Terminator. I thought he was an actual machine. Drago is no joke. Now, as far as most physically imposing, most intimidating villains, Ivan Drago takes the cake. I still say Clubber Lang is the best Rocky villain, but Ivan Drago is the most physically imposing. When you look at him, you say, there's no way that Rocky could beat this guy. You know what I mean? And but of course, it's a Rocky movie, so spoiler, Rocky's got to come out at the end. But anyway, what? I'm not gonna take that much time. I enjoy this movie. Only thing I did not like about it is they had to kill Apollo Creed. And even Sly himself will tell you that one of the biggest regrets of his career, especially in the Rocky franchise, is killing off Apollo Creed. I hated that, especially the bond that they formed in the third movie. I'm like, dude, why did you do that? You could have put him in the hospital. You could have, hell, I would even cripple him, but you had to kill Apollo? Come on, man. Like the greatest fighter on the planet. Come on, man. So yeah, that's one thing I ain't like, but predictable, fun 80s, and there's a director's cut that came out last year that I was not a fan of. They took out the robot. They took out the robot. They took a lot of the charm that the fourth one brought in. He made it she tried to make it more serious and more grounded, but that's not Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is not supposed to be grounded and serious. And they also gave Drago a lot more lines to make him more human. No, Drago is a silent, deadly killer. He's an instrument of destruction. Rocky 4 should be left alone the way it is. Flawed, but I like it. I like it a lot. So with that being said, Rocky 4, yes, gets an A in my book. Love it. Hearts on fire. No Easy Way Out. Yo, take your pick, man. Yo, No Easy Way Out's one of those songs that you play where, life is kind of getting you down. You just get in your car and you're just driving and you play No Easy Way Out and you just replay your whole life in your mind like a montage like Rocky did. It'll make you feel better after you're done. All right, try that. You're welcome. Dave, thank you once again. Can't wait to talk about Rocky 5. That's going to be a fun one. Floor's back yours, homie. What you got for Rocky 4?
Thank you to Rashad once again for joining me to talk about Rocky 4. Guys, if you haven't already, please go check out his channel. I've left a link to that in my description box below for y'all to check out. Send him some love. Tell him who sent you. Give him 1,000 subscriptions. I don't know how it works. I did like hearing your thoughts about this movie, and yeah, I definitely don't consider it to be my favorite of the series. I do have some qualms about it. I mean, pretty much right from the get-go, the robot. Rashad, I think you like the robot. I didn't care for the robot. I thought it felt out of place. I thought it felt too sci-fi-y. And then when you meet Ivan Drago, he's like literally a cyborg. So like we're just kind of going even deeper into this idea that it is a sci-fi. I get that the robot was there for comedic relief because the rest of the movie's a lot darker and a lot more serious. I didn't see the director's cut. I saw the version on Netflix, which I do believe was the theatrical version, because it definitely had a lot less of Ivan talking and it had a lot more robot stuff. I know you're kind of against the director's cut, Rashad, but I probably would have liked to see that for the fact that it was grounded, because that robot stuff was so left field compared to the rest of the movie. That's one of the things that I didn't like about the movie. Another thing that I didn't like about the film was kind of like what you said about Rocky not feeling like who Rocky is as a person. Though that is exactly what I felt about Rocky 3. I know you said that he was still Rocky, but no. He wasn't Rocky at all in Rocky 3. He did have that vocabulary. He wasn't wearing that hat and slugging around like, hey, Adrian. No, he was just Sylvester Stallone in an action film, which is how I felt about 3, and it's also how I feel about 4 as well. And the main thing that I loved about Rocky 1 and 2, which I consider those to be perfect in the world of sports films, perfect in the world of boxing films, and the best of the series, was the fact that he was so real and relatable, and the reason why that movie works so well as an underdog film. You can put yourself in his shoes. You can't put yourself in his shoes for Rocky 3 or 4. I'm sorry. The rest of the movie I would consider to be mediocre to typical. It's structured pretty much exactly like any of the other Rocky films. They're really starting to blend together in a way. And what you want out of any given sequel for any given series is for everything to feel like it fits, feel like they're their own independent thing. And I don't really feel that so much with Rocky 4, other than the fact that, yeah, Apollo Creed was killed off. I'm bittersweet on that. I get what they were going for, but it felt forced. It felt like they did that just for the story to happen. Rocky would have never gone after Ivan in the first place if it weren't for this death that occurred. Or he wouldn't have this desire to beat Ivan with all the vigor of vengeance if it weren't for Creed. So I understand why they did it from a narrative standpoint, but I could still feel the forceful nature of it, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's an okay movie, like I said, but I don't put a lot of emphasis on it as one of the best Rocky films. I think it's a good, enjoyable movie. I wouldn't mind owning it as a part of the collection of Rocky films, but that's as far as that goes. Let's take a look at what I scored Rocky for, which was a B+ letter grade. Final overall score of 80%, 80 out of 100 possible stars. Taking a look at my unbiased and biased scores down below that, you'll notice that my unbiased score was 82%. My bias score, just how I personally felt about it, was 78%. So in both scenarios, they're all in that range of 8 out of 10, which basically means it was well made, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't top dog when it comes down to Rocky. Because when it comes down to Rocky, in my personal opinion, you need that balance. You need that Rocky that's very human and relatable and kind of dumb, to be honest. And then you need to see that transition from dumb jock to champion. And you don't see that so much anymore because it's basically from champion to champion now. It's just like from champion to slightly better champion, which, I mean, it is what it is. Once again, a big thanks and shout out to Rashad for joining me. Guys, go over to his channel, see what he's all about, because he is the best. And until the next time that we collab and talk about Rocky 5, let me know what you thought about Rocky 4 in the comment section down below, and which Rocky film is your favorite. And until next time, hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.